Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman coming to you from Annex A studio in the garden level of the Holman House. And we're going to another Annex studio, it looks like. Carla Bailo joins us, President and CEO of the Center for Automotive Research. It's so good to have you on. How you doing, Carla?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
You know, I guess when you visit different industries, you say, oh, this is happening, this is happening. I'm not so sure in your industry that you aren't in the lead of the number of things happening. It is so, I mean, every day there's new news coming out. So with that, let's talk a little bit about 2021. What came out of 2021?
Well, the biggest things that we saw were, of course, the semiconductor shortages and other shortages. The supply chain issues continue to plague the industry, workforce issues because of COVID. Things that we thought, we might have been through in 2020 still continued to plague the industry throughout the calendar year. But we also saw huge investments in electrification, millions and millions of dollars being poured into the vehicles of the future.
You know, it's kind of interesting because when you talk about those chips, I've had the occasion to spend a little time with the new director of the Small Business Administration. And I said, are there any initiatives or anything out there to get those chips manufactured back here in the United States? And I know there's some material problems, et cetera, et cetera. She said, yeah, they're starting to work in that direction. I don't understand why the auto industries, why all the competitors didn't get together and said, let's make chips and all throw some money in.
Well, it's easy to say, let's all get together and make this happen. In reality, everyone is a competitor, right? And everyone's specs are a little bit different. So when you start talking about this amongst the automakers, yes, that will help solve the problem, but everyone will say, my chips are better than your chips. My spec is better than your spec. So it's not as easy as you might think. Now, the CHIPS Act was passed to provide dollars for companies to put facilities here in the US to support the automotive industry. That needs to happen. And we've seen the automotive industry start to make their own plans as companies. We've seen some companies that have very robust relationships with their chip suppliers handle the situation perhaps better than others. I think the big illuminating point for CAR and I hope for the industry is suppliers are our partners. And we need to be working with them continuously. And we always need to be looking at what's the next shortage? How can we mitigate that risk? How can we future-proof our organization? So when we think about the skill sets of the future, these people in supply chain that have the capability to look at all the different elements that are going to be needed, look at all the risk factors in that supply chain, where it's coming from, how it's delivered, the length of travel, the development time frame, and determine, hey, these things we need to really have our own supply chain for, and these other things we can let go.
So a couple other little issues, one chronic and one pretty acute, the acute one being supply chain. How are they dealing with that? And do you see anything better in 2022?
Well, I just joined a conference on this topic, in fact, and we have at least between 10 and 20% shortfall in the number of truck drivers. And this is a big problem. Just being able to get the goods out of the ports. Honestly speaking, the sooner we can get some sort of automated transit on the roadways, the better. We're just not seeing folks jump up and want to drive trucks. The other thing is a lot of the drayage companies need to look at better hub and spoke options so that people don't have to be gone from their families for 2.5, 3 weeks. They can just do daily runs and still go home.
Yeah, that is a great way. And you're right about automating that industry as well, which leads me to not enough people. That's another huge challenge. And that is talent.
Indeed, and it's pervasive throughout the industry, everything from, folks on the assembly line all the way up through, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, all of these things that when we make the transition from the automobile, to really computer on wheels, so to speak, that demand is now being challenged by many other industries. You're all looking for the same kind of person, because industry doesn't matter so much as the basic knowledge in those technologies. So we're all fighting against each other. And with COVID, now you can work from wherever. So, it's opened up a whole new way of recruiting, a whole new way of talent management.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, so we got about a minute left to talk about 2022. What do you see happening?
Well, the semiconductor situation will get better. The electrification rush will continue. With the edicts that are being launched globally and even here in the US, the continued investment. But I think we're going to really start taking a pragmatic look at how we can do this transition properly, how we can make sure that those companies that are really dependent on internal combustion engines have a roadway and a pathway of sustainability in the world of electrification. I think we'll start seeing academics and academia really get involved in working with government and others in industry to make sure we have the talent that we need in all the different capacities. So my wish for 2022 is that we all, as private public partnerships, start working more closely together to really solve these problems that are plaguing the industry.
Yeah, we're moving in that direction. You're absolutely right. But
for sure,
nobody to lead that charge better than Carla Bailo, the president and CEO of the Center for Automotive Research. You have a very happy holiday, Carla, and
thank you.
And a prosperous new year.
Wish the same for you, Chris.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman.